Hey everyone, today we're going to try to put a rest to this whole born of a virgin prophecy thing from Isaiah chapter 7. Shalom everybody, and welcome to Beit Tefillah. There still seems to be quite a few people struggling with Isaiah chapter 7, with them thinking that it pertains to a virgin birth prophecy that was fulfilled later on in the form of a New Testament Messiah, when nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I touched on this subject in my series briefly, and I also talked about it in another video or two that I did, and I just did a presentation on Facebook pertaining to it not long ago, but I want to dedicate a short video on the subject right now, just today, okay? I think the problem seems to stem from people absolutely not wanting to see what's going on in Isaiah chapter 7 because they are clinging so tight in their minds to the doctrine of the Christian church and their belief in this New Testament Messiah that Elohim never gave us, that they just don't want to see this. But if they only pay attention, they'll see that this has nothing to do with a future Messiah. And it's so simple. So we're going to break it down, go over it slowly, and do a recap at the end. And I'm sure a lot of people who are on the fence with this are going to listen to this and go, yeah, that has nothing to do with a future Messiah. Okay? So let's read the verse in question and we'll go over the whole thing. The King James Bible has it as Isaiah 7:14. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Now, I read it from the King James Version because it still says virgin. The ISR and the JPS and quite a few others have it right when they say a young woman will conceive, and it doesn't use the word virgin. Okay? So, looking at this verse, the King James Version, there's a couple of problems with the translation of this verse. First of all, what I just said, the translation of the word virgin is incorrect. The Hebrew word that Isaiah used is Alma, and this word means maiden. And I know a lot of people have already been over this argument before, but just hear me out. Now, Alma could mean a young maiden who is a virgin, okay? But the word Alma itself contains no implication of sexual purity whatsoever. The Hebrew Betula does. The Hebrew Betula means virgin, and the prophet Isaiah used Betula before in his writings and after, but he didn't in this case. If he wanted to use virgin, that's what he would have used, but that's not what he used. Second, there's also a tense error in this verse. It should read, the maiden that has conceived. Okay, it's past tense. I'm not sure why the translators made it future tense. Actually, I am kind of sure, but they made it future tense and it should be past tense. She has conceived. So, keeping that in mind, if this young woman has already conceived at this point, guess what she is not? She's not a virgin. She's already conceived. A few verses earlier, Yahuwah said to King Ahaz, as we read about in Isaiah 7, verse 11, ask a sign for yourself from Yahuwah your Elohim, make deep the request, or make it high. Now I think Ahaz was a little afraid because he was a wicked king, and he didn't want to ask for a sign. He didn't want to make any kind of request from Yahuwah. So you know what? Yahuwah gave him a sign anyway. And the sign is this, and it is written in Isaiah 7:16. For before the child knows to refuse evil and choose the good, the land that you dread is to be forsaken by both of her sovereigns. So both of those kings over this warring land that King Ahaz dreads are going to be taken out of the way. All right? Now this sign pertains to what will happen by the time this particular child reaches a certain age. The sign in itself is not the young woman conceiving. That's not the sign, because that's not what Elohim said. Young women all over the world conceive every day. So that's not a biblically noteworthy event. Not at all. And since only the woman herself would know if she was a virgin or not, how would that be a sign to anyone but her, especially King Ahaz? If you just bring a girl up in front and say, hey, she's a virgin, you got to take their word for it, because you can't tell by looking at her, and she could lie, right? So the following is stated in verse 1 of the chapter, and it pertains directly to the sign Ahaz was given by Elohim. So pay attention here. Starts right in the beginning, Isaiah 7:1. And it came to be in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, that Retzin, sovereign of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliahu, who was the sovereign of Israel, went up to Jerusalem to fight against it, but could not prevail against it. So both of their enemy sovereigns were the king Retzin and Pekah. And what was assigned to Ahaz again? Isaiah 7:16. For before the child knows to refuse evil and choose the good, the land that you dread is to be forsaken by both of her sovereigns. Both going to be taken out of the way, right? So we need to pay special attention to what happens to the kings Retzin and Pekah. So let's read about them, starting in 2 Kings 15:25. And Pekah, son of Remaliahu, a chief officer of his, conspired against him and smote him in Shomeron in the high place of the sovereign's house, along with Argob and Aryeh, and with him were the 50 men of Gilad. So he killed him and reigned in his place. So who is killed? King Pekah. Now let's read in the next chapter, 2 Kings 16:9. And the sovereign of Ashur listened to him. And the sovereign of Ashur went up against Damasek and captured it and exiled it to Kir, and he killed Retzin. So the two kings, Retzin and Pekah, both dead. And in the very next verse, we read in 2 Kings 16:10, and King Ahaz went to meet with the sovereign of Ashur. So by the time King Ahaz went to meet with that king, Retzin and Pekah already dead. So it happened as a sign to King Ahaz in his lifetime. Both sovereigns over the land that Ahaz dreaded were removed, just as Elohim promised, fulfilled back in that day as a sign to King Ahaz. Okay? That's easy to see just by reading along with the text. And now that we know that information, let's read the following from Matthew 1:22 to 23. This is the first fulfillment text in the book of Matthew. Now all this was done, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. So it's plain to see that that fulfillment text from the book of Matthew is completely fake, because that's not at all what Isaiah 7:14 is stating. And Isaiah 7:14 is the only place in all of Tanakh where they get this virgin birth stuff. So that just destroys completely this whole born of a virgin thing for this New Testament Messiah. Gone. And it's sad to know that no matter what you may try to prove to some people using the word in the Tanakh, they still won't acknowledge it because they really don't want to learn truth. They just want to have their beliefs validated. So let's hear what happened one more time. Elohim told King Ahaz to ask him for a sign. Ahaz refused, so Elohim gave him a sign. He told him that a young woman who was already pregnant at the time was going to have a son, and before that particular child was old enough to know the difference between good and evil, the two kings that Ahaz feared would be out of the picture. And we read that it happened, and that Ahaz saw it in his lifetime, exactly as Elohim told King Ahaz that it would. Exactly. And this is plain as can be from simply reading Scripture. For those who would have you believe that this was a prophecy for the distant future of a New Testament Messiah being born of a virgin, they're under a serious delusion, because Elohim never told King Ahaz anything of the sort. You know, I've heard many people in Hebrew roots say all along, and I'm sure I said it too, that, well, how can you believe we ever thought we were allowed to eat pork? Or you believe that we really thought the Sabbath was changed, or that we didn't have to do the feast anymore and it was okay to keep Christmas and Easter? Well, I think this whole virgin birth issue is going to be another one of those things that quite a few people are going to be saying in a couple of years, you know, I can't believe we actually believe that, when it's so plain as day in Isaiah chapter 7. So I think there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming down off of YouTube once other people start to see this and they realize I was in error. When people start to look at this and other people are saying to them, that's not what it says, you're dreaming, give me a break. Do you not have any comprehension? Read what it says. It doesn't say anything about a future Messiah coming. This was about two kings being knocked out of the way as a sign to King Ahaz. And that's exactly what happened back then. And it was about this kid who the lady was already pregnant with at the time, before that child, so this is happening pretty quick, before that child was old enough to know the difference between good and evil, those kings gone, dead. And that's exactly what happened. So for those who are willing to learn, I hope this video blessed you. Shalom to everyone worldwide who is Yisrael. Everybody be blessed and have a wonderful day.